Good evening, traders. This is Krishna Joshi from 7 Points Capital, Florida desk, and I'm bringing to you today's trader takeaways. And it was fairly muted day today, gapping up a little bit. Spice, global sentiments, global markets, fairly positive, like all of the European markets, Chinese, Asian markets. So Spice kind of gapped up compared to Friday's close, but the range on the day was just so small, just a narrow range. In fact, the funny part here was, look at the opening range, the opening and the high and the low of the range. So by 9:45 it made the high and the low, and then it never breached those, it never triggered the highs and the lows, so it kept trading in the range. We did have a lot of stock specific action. There is the conference going on cancer research, and all of these companies that are presenting over there have been pretty active. So we saw lots of gaps up, gap down, gap ups, and which is why we had a lot of sector, the biotech specific action, and even a lot of, so stocks were all over the place, some of them gapping up 10-20% and the others gapping down, the ones which did not give promising data. So let's jump into a quick look into SPY. The volume not really there, even though you can see like a gap on the charts, gapping through the important resistance levels of 274 that we have drawn on our charts for a while. Look at that, so gapping right above that, in fact touching it and then just bouncing off of that. Very crucial here, because as soon as we got above there was no follow through. So we wouldn't be surprised if we come right back into this range eventually, or kind of gradually go up a little bit, and on the first negative news we just bounce back into the 272 and 274 range. That wouldn't be shocking at all. So volume fairly muted, the range very narrow on the day. So let's jump into stock specific action. My best stock on the day was PBR. So this had crazy news on Friday. The stock was gapping up. Let's jump into, yes, that was Friday. The stock is gapping up compared to the close on Thursday, because on the daily was terrible. So a lot of value buying going on. People probably got long, and we also mentioned a crazy algo buying this very aggressively midweek in PBR. So it gaps up, PBR holds, and then the CEO resigns amid the crisis in Brazilian markets, the oil prices, the diesel prices, and with the strike going on the trucking companies. So PBR just collapsed completely. So from 12.25 the stock goes down to 9.25. That is massive. So that's a 25 correction off of the highs, and which is why we saw a slight pullback going into the close. And today again we're looking at good opportunities where it would just stop out and try to get short, and the short was fairly easy. So I made most of the money on the short side. And going into today's action, the stock was again gapping up, but once it put in the topping tail, it was easy to get short in the low 11s, the single digits, 1101, 2, and then this was a fairly easy trade and covered into the low 80s. So a quick 20-cent trade right off the open. It kind of kept going much lower, and then it kind of started trading right around VWAP. But this was pretty much every other stock which gapped up along with SPYs, and then just kind of started trading sideways. So PBR was a quick scalp for me in the morning, about 20 cents on it. The risk reward was there, risking about 4 cents, so 5-to-1 risk reward there, and the stock was kind of just sideways all day since then. So 80 was the crucial level on the upside, and then the 70 on the low side, and it just kept trading in that range. So 70 through 90, high 80s, and that was pretty much it. So not a lot of trading after that. I kept taking a stab at it, going back at it again if it wanted to sell off, if it wanted to hold. So I kept trying a couple of attempts in this, but this was the best and the easiest trade in PBR. Jumping on to the retail stock, Abercrombie. So ANF was day 2. It announced earnings on Friday pre-market, and the numbers weren't good. and we knew that the sentiment was negative anyways after the Express, Guess, and AEO were pretty much weak on Thursday because they announced earnings on Thursday. uh, they sold off, hit SSR. Friday morning ANF announces earnings and ANF hits SSR, but this one was just strong. Like, this was just resilient on the 2250, which was Friday's high, so it took a lot of attempt. So once it broke this 2250, so I was trying to constantly buy in the low 40s all the way up to 50, and then wanting it to go up. It took me two failed attempts where it stopped me out both the instances. I think 37 on the second one, that is where I got out because I wanted to give it below 40. Let me zoom in a little more for you. Right, so kept buying all the way up, and then I wanted to make sure that I'm not really cutting it off, so I gave it up to 37, got stopped out there, and again took the third attempt, long 45, 46, and this is when it actually did break. Again, my stop was below 40, below 35s, because I wanted to see a big move. If the 50, because 50 was just one huge offer, about 10-15,000 shares on one of the exchanges, and he was just holding there. So every time it would go up, it would wipe out a few shares, but it would hold and just drop. So probably because of a lot of buying that was going on, and maybe because it was the fifth attempt, so there are a lot of these previous guys who weren't going to take a stab at it. So this one, once it broke, it went fairly easy. This goes down as a bad trade for me because this was an early take, probably because of the two failed attempts and because I was down in the stock quite a lot, because I'd been taking a stab at it, bought 46, 47, 48, breaks, and then comes right back up. So took a loss here, took a bigger loss here, and then when I got the breakout through 50, I actually trimmed in the high 50, so 58, 59, and then 65, 66 I was out for everything. And then we saw like a big rip and the stock just kept continuing. So if you see, look at this, just a clean move, closed at pretty much the highs, and it was really frustrating to just keep watching the stock go up. I did not go back at this and then keep trying to buy or do anything like that, but I did look at BIG, and then I was just trying to go long BIG. It had a similar pattern. If you can relate to ANF, it has this huge level where it's just holding, it's reserving, drops, comes back, multiple failed attempts, and then the offer actually chases it down. Look at that, it from 1145 to 130 pretty much. It only goes down 20 cents, and then all it takes is two green bars to cover all of that, go sideways for about 10 minutes, and then just rips up again. So this was massive. There was a massive buyer in this one, was creating a squeeze. It was also strong, just like ANF. Look at this, compared to Friday's close, the stock was trading higher, and every time we saw like slight uptick in spice, this one was just right there. So I ended up making a little bit in BIG, and I felt more comfortable with BIG because of 3 trades in ANF. Even though the third one worked out, I took it early, so I did not want to keep trading ANF, but BIG worked out pretty well. And something that I could have done better was GME. This again announced earnings on Thursday after hours. So Friday was, it opens down, goes up, closes at the high, pretty much strong all day. And today when I saw a big move up, red to green trade, and then once it went sideways, this is where I bought 72, 73s. So I'm long 72, 73 with a stop into below this range. So I know that this is the level from Friday. If it goes below 60, this is where I want to get out. So my stop is below 60, and it goes up, comes right back down, and I add even more right around mid 70s again. So I'm adding more into the mid 70s, and then I got shaken out right around the lows, the previous lows. So this is something I could have done better. I bought back right at the bottom tick for like half of the position, and then again scalped all the way back to the highs. But that was just a great entry, good ad, and the only problem was I couldn't just see it. I couldn't give back a lot more, and only because of that, because of not following the process and not letting the stop work it out for me, and I just exit the trade. So I knew right away in the moment while I'm trading live. I'm like, all right, this is a mistake, it's a bad exit. I try to get in long again, so I only get half my position, and then it just goes back through the highs. And this again, just like ANF, closed at the high point of the day. So I would say, given how spies were choppy and how I was able to pick individual names, look at the relative strength, and be on the long side, be on the correct side of it, which was the long setup, and still not end up taking all of this. So it ends up being a very frustrating day overall, because with spies there wasn't really action going on. You just trigger 75s and come back 40 cents, and then just go back to 75 and then come down. So this was one of those days where you have a good position, you just hold on to it. ANF, GME, BIG, pretty much that summarizes my day. Lack of patience, should have been much more disciplined with the process and should have just stayed with them. Anyways, that goes down as a major takeaway for me, where spies are sideways, and if you have individual stocks that are showing relative strength, you want to be with those resilient stocks. Alright, feel free to put in your feedback, and thanks again for watching. Feel free to like, subscribe, and share with your friends, and thanks again. This is Krishna Joshi with 7 Points Capital.